I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Gordon Chang, political commentator and author of Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Gordon, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much, Brittany.
I really appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate your perspective today because I think a defining moment in President Trump's second term, certainly a defining moment in J.D. Vance's tenure as vice president, was that White House meeting on Friday, the explosive meeting with those two leaders, as well as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. I'm curious as to what you think the world, the globe, the U.S. adversaries and allies alike were thinking when they saw this meeting play out live, as well as the fallout thereafter.
I think people were appalled. They were stunned. Certainly I was. I worry about the way the Chinese regime heard that meeting. What they heard was a fissure, a crack, maybe a split in the Western alliance. And I think that they believe that if the United States isn't willing to protect a victim of aggression, and Ukraine is a clear victim of Russian aggression, then the Chinese might start to think that the United States won't protect countries that China attacks in East Asia. Right now, we see China going hard after Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, and India. So I think that the Chinese very much are on the warpath. And this is a conversation in the Oval Office that might embolden them to do something truly historic.
Let's talk about that a little further, because it seems like there was some revisionist history at play, calling Zelensky a dictator, not acknowledging that Russia did invade Ukraine, and that was the start of the war. If you're China and you're hearing that, what are you thinking?
You're thinking that Trump is not going to call Russia an aggressor. That means that we might not call China aggressor. I'm not saying that the Chinese are right in that assessment. In fact, I think they're wrong, but it doesn't matter what is true. What matters is how the Chinese regime views this. And so therefore, we've got to worry about their incorrect assessments of Trump's foreign policies. This is a world right now which is sort of almost on the edge of catastrophe. And I'm worried that any event could lead to unseen events, could lead to worst outcomes. This is very much like the situation in 1914, where you have the assassination of an archduke that leads to the world's first global conflict. We are sort of in the same position. Remember, we've got wars in Ukraine. We've got insurgencies in North Africa that look like wars. We got the war in the Middle East. China is involved in all of them. And if China believes that the United States is not able or not willing to oppose it, then we could see war in East Asia. And a war in East Asia would mean conflict around the globe.
And what do you think a war in East Asia, where does the United States sit in that right now?
Well, Japan and Philippines and Australia are U.S. treaty allies. We have obligations to defend them. We don't have a treaty obligation to defend Taiwan, but it's certainly in our interest to do so for various reasons. People talk about the chips. TSMC makes 92% of the world's most sophisticated chips. We can't allow the Chinese to have that, but they're more important and strategic concerns. So, for instance, since the 1800s, we have drawn our Western defense perimeter off the coast of East Asia, and Taiwan sits at the middle of that critical perimeter. Plus, also, we can't have China attacking and annexing a democracy at a time when it is in a full-on assault against not just the United States, but democracy in general. So there are a lot of interests here that the United States has in preserving peace and stability in East Asia, even if we don't have a treaty obligation to defend Taiwan.